It was a chilly evening in the heart of the city when I first laid eyes on David. We had connected through a dating app that boasted of exclusivity due to its limited downloads. His profile picture had intrigued me, his smile warm and inviting. As I sat at the corner table of the cozy cafe, nervously fidgeting with the napkin, I couldn't help but glance at the door every few minutes, waiting for him to arrive. Finally, he walked in, slightly disheveled from the wind outside, but his eyes gleaming with excitement. However, I couldn't help but notice that he seemed shorter than he had mentioned on his profile. Nevertheless, I brushed it off, trying not to let it bother me. After all, looks aren't everything, right? "Hey, sorry I'm late," David said, his voice slightly breathless as he approached the table. "It's okay," I replied, offering him a warm smile. "I've only just arrived myself." As we settled into conversation, I couldn't shake off the feeling of tension in the air. David seemed nervous, his hands trembling slightly as he reached for his menu. I tried to lighten the mood with some small talk, asking about his day and what he did for a living. "Oh, just the usual grind," he replied, a hint of unease in his voice. "I work in finance." The conversation flowed in fits and starts, interrupted by awkward silences and forced laughter. I found myself struggling to connect with David, despite my initial excitement about meeting him. There was something off about him, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. As the evening wore on, David's nervous behavior only seemed to intensify. He kept checking his phone every few minutes, his eyes darting around the cafe as if he were expecting someone to jump out at any moment. I began to feel increasingly uncomfortable, wondering if I should make an excuse to leave. But just as I was about to suggest calling the night, David suddenly blurted out, "I'm sorry, I can't do this. I have to go." I was taken aback by his abruptness, my heart sinking with disappointment. "What? Why?" I asked, unable to hide the hurt in my voice. David hesitated for a moment, his gaze flickering with guilt. "I can't explain right now, but please believe me, it's not you, it's me." And with that cryptic excuse, he hastily got up from the table and practically fled the cafe, leaving me sitting there in stunned silence. As I sat there, staring at the empty chair across from me, a wave of emotions washed over me. Confusion, disappointment, and a gnawing sense of rejection, all mingled together, leaving me feeling utterly deflated. What had just happened? Was it something I said? Did I do something wrong? Questions swirled around in my mind, but there were no answers, only a lingering sense of unease. I glanced down at my phone, half expecting to see a message from David explaining himself, apologizing for his abrupt departure. But there was nothing. No text, no call, not even a simple explanation. Tears stung my eyes as I realized that I had been stood up, abandoned without so much as a second thought. All those hopes and expectations I had built up, all dashed in an instant. Feeling a mix of anger and sadness, I pushed my chair back and hastily made my way out of the cafe. The bustling city streets offered little solace as I walked aimlessly, lost in my thoughts. What had I done to deserve this? I had put myself out there, opened up to the possibility of love, only to be met with rejection. It wasn't fair. It wasn't right. But as I replayed the events of the evening in my mind, a nagging doubt began to creep in. Maybe it wasn't just David's fault. Maybe I had missed some red flags, ignored my instincts, telling me that something was off. I sighed heavily, feeling the weight of disappointment settling in my chest. Maybe this was just another lesson learned, another heartache to add to the list. But despite the pain, I knew one thing for certain. I wouldn't let this setback define me. I wouldn't let one bad date deter me from finding love again. With newfound determination, I wiped away the tears and straightened my shoulders. I may have stumbled, but I refused to let myself fall. The road to love may be fraught with obstacles, but I was ready to face them head on. And who knows, maybe the next unexpected encounter would lead me to where I was meant to be. In the days that followed, I found myself grappling with a whirlwind of emotions. The sting of rejection still lingered, but amidst the pain, there was also a glimmer of hope. I threw myself into my work, immersing myself in projects and deadlines as a way to distract myself from the disappointment of that ill-fated date. But no matter how busy I kept myself, thoughts of David and what could have been haunted my every waking moment. It was during one particularly sleepless night that I realized something profound. I had been seeking validation from others, hoping that someone else would fill the void within me. But true happiness, I realized, could only come from within. With that newfound clarity, I made a conscious decision to embark on a journey of self-discovery. I started journaling, pouring out my thoughts and feelings onto the pages as a way to make sense of the chaos within me. I took up new hobbies, rediscovering old passions that had long been neglected in the hustle and bustle of daily life. And most importantly, I began to prioritize self-care, learning to love and nurture myself in ways I had never thought possible. I went for long walks in nature, letting the tranquility of the outdoors soothe my troubled mind. I treated myself to bubble baths and pampering sessions, indulging in simple pleasures that brought me joy. As the days turned into weeks, I felt a shift within me. The pain of rejection slowly began to fade, replaced by a newfound sense of confidence and self-assurance. I no longer needed validation from others to feel worthy. I knew that my worth came from within, and with that realization came a sense of freedom. I was no longer bound by the expectations of others, no longer shackled by the fear of rejection. I was free to be myself, unapologetically and unabashedly. As I gazed into the mirror, I saw a reflection of someone strong and resilient staring back at me. I had weathered the storm of Hatak and emerged on the other side, stronger and more determined than ever before. And as I stood there, basking in the glow of my newfound self-love, I knew that the best was yet to come. For the journey of self-discovery is not just about finding oneself, it's about embracing every part of who you are and embracing the beauty of the unknown. As I continued to focus on myself and my own growth, something unexpected happened. I found myself forming connections with people in ways I never thought possible. It started with a simple smile exchanged with a stranger on the bus, a fleeting moment of connection that brightened my day. Then, it evolved into deeper conversations with coworkers, sharing stories and laughter over lunch breaks. Slowly but surely, I began to realize that human connection was all around me, waiting to be discovered if only I opened myself up to it. I no longer felt the need to rely on dating apps or blind dates to find companionship. Instead, I embraced the serendipity of chance encounters and the magic of genuine connections. One day, as I was browsing through books at a local bookstore, I struck up a conversation with a fellow book lover who recommended me a novel that would change my perspective on life. We ended up spending hours chatting about our favorite authors and sharing recommendations, and by the time I left the store, I felt like I had made a new friend. Another time, I attended a yoga class and found myself striking up a conversation with the person on the mat next to me. We bonded over our shared love for mindfulness and spirituality, and before I knew it, we were making plans to attend a meditation retreat together. With each new connection I formed, I felt my world expand in ways I never thought possible. I was no longer defined by my past attitudes or my search for love. Instead, I was defined by the meaningful connections I made with others and the joy they brought into my life. And as I embraced these unexpected connections with open arms, I realized that love comes in many forms. It's not just about romantic relationships or grand gestures. It's about the everyday moments shared with the people who make us feel seen, heard, and understood. As I continued to navigate the twists and turns of life, I found myself embracing the journey with newfound gratitude and appreciation. Every experience, whether joyful or painful, served as a stepping stone on the path to self-discovery. I learned to cherish the moments of solitude, relishing in the quiet moments of reflection and introspection. It was during these times of stillness that I truly came to understand myself, unraveling the layers of my being and discovering the depths of my own resilience. But I also learned to celebrate the moments of connection, recognizing the beauty in the bonds forged with others. Whether it was a shared laugh with a friend or a heartfelt conversation with a stranger, each interaction served as a reminder of the power of human connection. And through it all, I remained steadfast in my commitment to self-love and self-care. I nurtured my body, mind, and soul with kindness and compassion, refusing to settle for anything less than the love and respect I deserved. As I look back on my journey, I am filled with a sense of pride and accomplishment. I have faced my fears, embraced my vulnerabilities, and emerged on the other side stronger and more resilient than ever before. And though the road ahead may be uncertain, I know that I am ready to face whatever challenges come my way, for I am not defined by my past or my circumstances. I am defined by the courage and resilience with which I face each new day. And so, with a heart full of gratitude and a spirit renewed, I embrace the journey that lies ahead, knowing that the best is yet to come.